Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 17th week. Really, it's the 17th law of the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. And we're covering the Law of Priorities. It's an amazing law, and looking forward to um, connecting with you all on this tonight. And so, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through just the slides that actually Brendan Duplessis he created for us, and then we're going to play an 11-minute video with Danny and Di McDaniels talking on this law, and then we'll open up for Q&A, and then we'll go from there. So it's great to see everybody. And let me go ahead and share my screen, and go from there. You know, all right, all right, here we go. Activity is not accomplishment. I like that. Some of the law priorities. Hey, we did the recap last week. We had the law of momentum, the big Mo. That was pretty awesome. And tonight we talk about the law of priorities. And so focus determines future. And so a goal defined is, excuse me, a goal, identify what matters most, eliminate what distracts, and align time with purpose. That's the goal with priorities. A leader who knows their priorities leads with clarity. John Maxwell. And leaders' job is to prioritize. First things first, right? The law of priorities says leaders must understand what must be done, decide what should be done, and eliminate what does not need to be done. And busyness does not equal productivity. That reminds me when people used to ask me, Ken, how you doing? I say, I'm crazy busy. I'm crazy busy. This is years ago. And I realized, even though I was intensely under a lot of pressure prior to this opportunity, building my advertising company, um, traveling an hour and a half down to my zone and then an hour and a half back, and where my company was at, and working, 15-hour days out at dark, back at dark, had a driver drive me down. I thought I was justified in saying, I'm just crazy busy. And the Lord just caught a hold of my attention and says, Ken, you should change your language, change your future. And so I changed my language. I said, hey, Ken, how you doing? I said, I'm doing great. I'm being productive. And so it's great to change your language. So I thought that was a blessing. So yeah, and busyness didn't always equal productivity. And so it was a blessing to gain a little more peace in my day by changing my language, and shaped how I saw things. Priorities protect you from distractions. I like what Stephen Jobs did. He talked about what are the three big things you got to get accomplished. He called the signal, you know, and what you need to get accomplished in the next 18 hours. And from that, then everything else is noise. And now I find myself thinking, am I making noise right now? What I'm doing right now, am I really focusing on what's really most important? And so I thought that was pretty powerful. And you cannot do everything, but you can do the right things. That's powerful. John Maxwell's three filters is one, requirement. What must I do? And then on the return, what gives the highest return? The 20%, the top priority. And what's the reward? What brings joy? What brings energy? So when you're thinking about things that you're going through today, use that as a great guideline. And basically, this is what's going to determine where your leadership goes, your leadership time, that is. So focus on the top 20% that produces 80% of the results. And that's what we do with our team, right? You want to focus on the 20% of the folks that are driving 80% of your points, right? And that's what you're looking down for. And Danny, he says he focuses on 20% of the 20%. And that's pretty amazing. Those are your true leaders. You cannot carry 100% of your team. If you try, you become customer service instead of a leader. I love that. Priorities equals focusing on the people and actions that actually move the mission forward. And the big rocks, faith, family, what's your guys, professional, life wave, and that's what it is. And so we talk to people all the time. In this business, it's your faith first, then your family, then your full-time job, and then life wave. Keep that priority in order. So put big things in first, so they'll never make it in at all. It's from Diane. That's true. Don't put off what you want to procrastinate on, particularly when you get up in the morning. Put that thing first on your list and crush it out. Absolutely. Faith, family, your current professional life wave integrated. And that's what I found while I was running my 18-man advertising company. I didn't have time really to put life wave at the top. I didn't have time to be a full-time life waver. I had to learn how to be smart. And I thank God for this system that allows us to be the preview, not the movie, and to keep it simple, inviting people in our system that we have to get their eyeballs on a Zoom or connected with your support team and just make those introductions and let the rest do itself. But most people lose priority because little things crowd out the big things. It's like being nickel and dime. So intentional leaders schedule their priorities. And Maxwell broke his time into leadership 19%, 38% communicating, 31% creating, and 12% networking. It's interesting. He pre-decided where his life was going to go. That's powerful. You cannot win if your time has no direction. And seeing the end from the beginning, that is truly the end game, right? And so I know for my wife and I, our goal is we want to see the end of 2026. We're coming into that. And we know that we need to 5X the organization that's on our outside largest two legs. And that's going to give us the ability to hit two-star presidential. And so we think with the end in mind and we back it down from there, even to what we do even tonight, that we believe it's all leading and building to build an organization that's going to attract more leaders because we know leaders bring freedom. We know leaders build the organization. And so we want to make sure we have an organization that makes it confident for leaders who do get attracted in to be able to build their organizations too. So people compare themselves to fast success stories, but the comp plan is designed for 5 to 10 years of growth. That's Danny's analogy. And, we'd say 2 to 5 years is really, if you're coming into this, you really want to be consistent and giving that time frame. And that really attracts to the power of compounding. Compounding does this number, and so, yeah, some people come in and they can bring in other teams of organizations and quickly accelerate. But, when you think about the law of what I call law of word of mouth, starting with one person who then shares with one person. Now you have two, and two people now share with one person. Now you have four people just sharing with one person. Now you have eight people sharing with one. So what is that? We're talking about consistency of one person sharing with one. And now you're at eight, then 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, 1024, and 10 iterations. If one shares with one and continues to do that, you're at 1,000 people. And consistency and leaders are important in that. I remember my wife and I in 10 months, we were at 2,000 people. 10 months later, we were at 20,000 people. And here we are now, 20 months after that, at month 40 at 106,000 people. It's powerful, consistency. So treat it like a job. If I guarantee you 75,000 a month in 5 years, would you stay? Yeah. So act accordingly today. So the seasons of life, if you don't own your day will own you for sure. Priorities shift by seasons, kids, work, and schedule, but consistency, as I just said, must remain. In our daily method of operation, you got to watch your goals. And actually, your goals are your map that helps you to establish and prioritize your daily method of operation. And so it's not exactly convenient, but consistency makes it work, you know. And so bear with my screen here. Sorry, guys. Trying to move my, here we go. What leaders must prioritize? Great leaders major in the majors and people who respond, workers versus watchers, actions that compound, inviting, follow up, presenting, daily discipline. Love it. Activity, not excuses. Everything else is noise. And I love the fact that consistency rolls past the inconvenience, it rolls past discouragement, it rolls past doubts. Consistency does. It makes it work. And it actually helps you prioritize. So let's go ahead and listen for oh, let me ask you, I want to do this one more slide here. Your future is hidden in your daily agenda. Think about that. So ask yourself, what distractions are pulling me off mission? What are my top 20% actions? Who are my top 20% people? And if I were my boss, would I promote me or would I fire me? I like asking this also if the board of directors in a company, they're the one who hires the CEO who runs the company, and you being the CEO of your business, if you had a board of directors around you, would they hire you or would they fire you? So let's go ahead and I'm gonna shift gears on my screen here, guys. And we're gonna roll into this 11-minute video. So start leaning in, make sure you got some pen and paper in hand to take some great notes. And so it's gonna be pretty powerful. Here we go. Okay.
21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. Diane, you want to start out with Law of Priorities and say anything?
It goes back to the priority of, faith, family, your current profession, and then LifeWave. So we have the big rocks in our life. So, and that's first and foremost. But sometimes those little things, the distractions, keep us from the most important things. And that's really what we want to stop to decide today individually on what are the distractions in our life that's keeping us from really focusing on the priorities that we need to accomplish what we want.
And as John Maxwell talks a lot about the 80-20 rule in there, and you guys understand that. I think you've all read the chapter, and it's a very fundamental but sound business principle that that you really want to focus on the 20%. You want to focus on the 20% of the 20% of the things that you need to focus on. Like with Dinah and I, we focus on the 20% of our team because it's the 20% of our team that drives most of the business. And so that's where we're going to focus on responders. We're going to focus on leaders. We're going to focus on multiplying. And if we got bogged down in focusing on all 100% of our team every day, all we are is answering phone calls like customer service, and that's what we become. And then it drags us down because mentally we didn't get in this to be customer service, and we didn't get in this to be just to say, hey, just call us for anything. We're just here to talk all day long, and we're available from 8 to 5. No, we didn't do that. We have priorities in life. We're going to lay those out. We're going to develop leaders in the meantime and train up leaders to build armies so that we can focus on 20%, but they're focusing on 20%. They're focusing on 20%, and it causes massive momentum as a result. And so you want to prioritize your life. You got to figure out what's important to you. I love how John Maxwell broke his time down, into leadership, communicating, creating, and networking on page 226, and said he was going to devote 19% of his time to leadership, 38% of his time to communicating, 31% of his time to creating. That's all by himself. Like, he's alone. and 12% to networking. So it's not like he's out at 12% networking. That's not a huge amount of time, but yet it's pivotal because he's taking advantage of that time. And so figure out what it is about your life where you've got God first, family second, current profession third, and then Lifeway fitting in there. What percentage? It's about what are you really going to allocate here to the mix for your better future so that you can get to $8,000 a month. Because if you can get to $8,000 a month, you have a bonfire. You have a roaring fire. You're not going to die on the mountain. But you know what? If you're at $1,000 a month and you stop and you take time off and you get away and all that, that fire can go out. And we don't want that fire to go out because we know you have goals. So this is really today, it's a very simple concept. And I don't have a whole lot more to say about priorities because I think priorities are a simple concept. And it's you planning your future and making sure that you treat this like a business. And, you've heard it before. The whole question is, if this were, something about would you fire yourself, if you were the boss?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Has some, you know what I'm talking about.
Ask yourself if you would fire yourself according to the time you're putting in.
Yeah, to the time you're putting in. Because here's the thing. Most people don't calculate how much, when it comes to priorities, most people don't, the people that get discouraged in this business, they don't calculate exactly how much they're really earning based on how many hours they're putting in. And, you take someone that makes $1,000 a month sometimes, and they're putting in, an hour a day, okay, 5 hours or say 2 hours a day, okay, 5-day work week, 10 hours. That's 40 hours. 1,000 divided by 40. Okay, so $1,000, they made $1,000 and divide 1,000 divided by 40 hours for the month, $25 an hour. Okay, so you got paid $25 an hour for doing that. Would you keep doing it?
From home.
From home to make it $50 an hour, to make it $75 an hour.
Around the time that you have.
So there's ways you have to start looking at it like, I'm getting paid according to my value. I'm getting paid according to my impact and my effort. And the last thing I'll say about that will help you design your priorities better is this. And I know I'm going to repeat this on Sunday night, but you guys are going to get this today. I was talking to one of our leaders yesterday, and about this concept, and I basically said, what a lot of people don't really look, how they don't see the end from the beginning is, and Diane and I were talking about this too, and Diane's who mentioned it yesterday to me, and then I was talking on the phone to one of our leaders, and a lot of people think that because they hear the stories of a Stephen Gina Merritt, or they hear our story, or Carrie's story, or David and Terry Miller's story, or even Brittany's story, Rick and Brittany Francis's story, they hear Mark Delgado's story, they hear Penny Carpenter, they hear these big stories, Daniel and Rebecca Plant, we just could keep naming them. And those are great. And I mean, those are great stories. We all want those stories. We want that story for you. But if that story hasn't happened for you yet, just know the compensation plan is really set up for the long haul. The compensation plan is set up to pay you, like, to hit the top rank, like SPD right now, the top rank. That's really set up for you to achieve over a 5 to 10 year period. It's not set up for you necessarily to get to 50,000 a month in a year, or 2 years. It's set up for you to have a part-time business sharing a viable high-impact product that over time, through your consistent efforts, is going to compound as you build a volunteer army that if you could see the end and actually see yourself, okay, at 5 years, and I'm now going to get to the question. So I asked this person, so I would ask you, I'd say like, hey, Jeff, just let me ask you this. If I could promise you, if I could promise you that I'm going to pay you $75,000 a month if you stick with me for 5 years. By the end of the 5th year, I'm going to pay you a minimum of $75,000 a month. Would you stay with me? Everybody says yes. Like, what? Like, you're hired, okay? Yeah, I'll come work for you. You promise me you're going to give me a contract. You're going to say this in the contract. Yes, I'm writing it in the contract. I'm going to pay you 75 grand in 5 years. By the end of 5 years, we're going to start you right now at this level, but I'm going to give you raises every year. I'm going to get you to 75 grand a month in salary here working for me. They all say yes. Okay, you have to employ yourself mentally like that. You've got to employ, but quit comparing yourself to someone who hit SPD in 8 weeks, or hit SPD in 9 months, or a year and a half. You have to see it like, okay, my plan is this. If it takes me, if it takes me 5 years to get to this, I'm going to get there through my priorities and my consistencies. Because there used to be a saying, and I don't know how much truth there is anymore to it, but it used to ring out pretty true, that the average direct sales distributor in a direct sales company, if they stayed with their company for 10 years and worked it as a part-time business consistently, they would hit the top level by at least in 10 years. Okay, well, that's in our last company, that was Carrie Robertson. Carrie Robertson, it took her 10, she got to the top level in our old company in 10 years. Took her 10 years to get that. And so that principle rang true in her life. And then she turned around and did it here in a year. The same, but like made way more money than that in a year here. Well, she had the experience. It wasn't the people, it was the experience. She knew how to create, she created a fire and saved her life before. See, once you've created a fire in the snow and saved your life, you can actually do it again probably better than you did the first time. And and so anyway, that's what I wanted to give you guys on priority today.
Yeah, that's great. I think that one thing that we want to remember is if we don't own our day will own us. So making sure that just like what you're hearing and what you're understanding when it comes to the focus of the things that I need to do, then make sure that you put it in place so you have a timeline through your day. Because again, if you're not planning, it's amazing how quickly it's noon and then it's 4 and then the day's gone and you still haven't taken care of the 5 contacts that you had in play or the follow-ups that you had needed to do. So just making sure that you figure that out. And then Danny and I in different seasons of life had to figure out how to work the business within the priorities that were going on. Because like when we first started, we had children, and of course, family is first and foremost, or faith, and then family first and foremost. So needless to say, like how do we stay consistent with kids at home and with kids in sports and all of those things? So we had to figure out how to do that, and making sure that we did it where it was still a priority, but yet we were still hitting our marks. And like that was what we would do, this thing called divide and conquer. Whenever he would be dad and I would go get it done, or I would be mom and he would go get it done. Just figuring out how to make sure that in each season of life that we stayed true to our priorities, but we also were getting it done. Because just like he's saying, we knew as we continued to move into the future, this was just going to grow and grow and grow and become more and more exciting for the financial legacy of our family. So that's why we would always continue to shape and mold it according to our seasons of life. So that's something you're going to have to do, but definitely pay attention to what those daily method of operations are for you personally, and then making sure that you're staying consistent and persistent within them, and then knowing it's all gonna show up over time with the right daily method of operations.
All right. Great stuff from seasoned leaders. And love to hear, what nuggets you got out of this. And so we can start our Q&A here, and love to have you unmute yourself and do contribute, and let's talk about this.
Hey, Ken, I think probably one of the ones for me is like owning your day, because I have always been that multitasking person that is trying to get 1.5 million things done. And then, what you were saying about is what I'm doing. Am I just making noise?
Mhm.
Being busy, but it's not like productive. So that was a lot. Like right now, I feel like that's kind of like where I'm at. I've got like quite a few things going and people that are, and focusing on that 20%, and figuring out what exactly that is, who exactly that is, and then how do I get in there and work and focus more on that than anything else. Follow-ups too. Ugh, that's my biggie.
Yeah. It's not easy, is it?
No, sometimes it's not. I contact people all over the place. Follow-up is key for sure. And staying focused on making sure that I get that daily method of operation, like getting back when you make contacts and you're out, that's getting them on my list. So I make sure that I follow up with them and, focusing on that kind of stuff. I just did it just now at the store. I
Yeah.
have to come home, make sure that I put it on my list and put them in my calendar to follow up with them tomorrow or the next day, kind of a thing, and making sure that I remember to do that because it'll be like 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, and I go, oh crap,
Yeah.
I didn't get back to them.
Right. Now, do you use like the Pro Tracker or what do you do to?
Yeah, I kind of have a list on that, and
Mhm.
then Josh created an electronic list too, which I kind of like that too because it actually has a list where you can drop a drop down box before you list your person on there as whether they're a prospect, a follow up, or they're already in. So you can kind of label them appropriately, and then it has space on there, a little bit more space to type and put like what was your last contact with them and what was that date and stuff. So that's really helpful for me too, especially because I'm not as organized a person as people think that I am. I am. I come across that way, but I'm not.
Well, I think we all feel the same way at times, so we're all, and this is probably the biggest challenge in the business. I do
Yeah.
believe is the prioritization of a daily method of operation.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so, and so thank you for sharing that. So what do you think? What will you use from this? Sometimes we win, sometimes we learn. I love my wife says that. So what do you think out of this, what you will be able to, make some incremental gains from? What will you do?
The biggest part, I think, is just the simple phrase of own your day.
Hmm.
I have to get back to, I was out of the office, like when you work for yourself or you do, your day kind of becomes your own. And I was kind of used to that with homeschooling and stuff like that, not really in that business mind where it's my business.
Right.
I need to work for myself.
Hmm.
So I need to set this up as if it is my business and own my day. Make sure I have those priorities so I can get other things done as well as the time that's set aside for this and making sure I start my day out properly, getting those first things done in the morning. Because there is something to be said too for like when you get up, get ready, do all the things, spend time with God, get ready. And so you're ready for your day. Sometimes I don't do that because I kind of got in that habit with the kids and stuff like that. So
Sure.
if I'm ready for my day, whatever does come up, or if I do need to run out, I'm good. Like I can go, and I'm prepared. I don't have to stop and take time because, oh, I'm not ready. And then something falls between the cracks because I'm not ready to go.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I've found that if you think with the end in mind, like, when I mean the end in mind, like you have a goal for, say, where you want to be. For me, I think at the end of 2026, we want to be at two-star presidential, right? So we understand structurally what has to happen for us. We've got to 5x the size of our outside largest legs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and then that begins to help me kind of bring it back all the way as I break that back down to what would that look like? How many leaders am I going to need? And all the way it brings it back, it brings me power to basically own my day
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because having that goal and then the sub goals that along the journey, because for us, we know how many points we've got to be able to get to, on in our once you're at that level, there's depends on which of the five green
Circles.
circles you're looking at. We
Mm-hmm.
use of those green circles. Okay, which one or two or could be three, that is going to begin to help me quantify where I need to begin to spend my focus, spend my time. And that helps me it motivates me just to know why it's so important to have my daily method of operation improved. And I'm still working on that. I'm still learning and I actually like writing down by paper and I like just turning the page and just highlighting. It's
Mm-hmm.
easy for me to see, 20 names, and I can quickly just boom, see where I need to prioritize.
Hmm.
And for me,
I really like those reports within the system, being able to click on those circles and see where people are, because
yeah,
that helps you with your focus and be able to set up
absolutely.
where you need to be and who's so close to this, that, or the other to help you move forward and help those people. So I really like that a lot.
Right. And and when you're looking to run this business, that is you've got your own personal daily method of operation with your own PRO, if you will, your patching follow up and getting people eyeballs on Zooms. But then you have your team, right? And that you've got to be able to also taproot, you're looking down through where are
Hmm.
you, who are you going to work with, who are you going to camp with, who are the 20 percenters that you're put 80% of your time with theoretically,
Hmm.
and I find that if you batch, if you look at there's 7 days in a week and you break those days at where you say it's in a 5 day work week, then maybe you don't try to do a little bit of it each day, but maybe you take 2 days and batch more of the time where you focus on that concerted effort where you're going to say, okay, I'm going to spend 2 hours this day and I'm going to spend 2 hours on this day and just batch that time and so, um, I feel that is another viable means to gain control, not only of the day, but kind of the week,
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
it's good stuff. All right. Thanks. All right. Who else has some nuggets they got from tonight?
So Ken,
Hey,
this is
Joyce.
George. Hey there. This was timely for me because as I traveled today, one of the things I recognize is that I'm not prioritizing enough what I'm doing, PRO, so that I'm capitalizing on these people that I'm talking to, and it's costing me. And so I'm deciding to prioritize whenever I'm speaking to someone. But if I know I need to follow up with them within a certain time and not let this lag, that I'm making using my calendar on my phone to make that appointment so that I'll get a ding reminder so that I can do that for follow up. So trying to prioritize just the fact that okay, if I'm going to talk with them, I need to know that I need to follow up in a certain period of time. Make that appointment now, make a habit of doing that. And so that's my prioritizing to the PRO is my one of those things I know I need to do better. So that's just one small portion of what I'm hearing. And so this is all very helpful for me. I've got to have a plan. It must be intentional. It won't happen because I'm always doing something. And so I have to be intentional and grab hold to the moments or it's not going to happen.
Absolutely. And, Joyce, as I hear you talking, do you have, just putting you out here, do you have like your next goal, your next rank you want to hit, and do you have a time point by which you want to hit it by?
No, I didn't put that. I've not written that down. I have not.
Okay. Because those goals create your roadmap. And what that will do is that will give you a guideline to empower your intentionality
Hmm.
because now you can begin to measure, how with the activity you're doing, how productive is it in relation to your goal?
Yes.
And that's going to help shape the prioritization of what you're trying to accomplish. You may find you may need to move your goal further in or further out.
Hmm.
Uh, but that goal is your roadmap, and it is truly a resource for prioritization. And so moving your next rank, and when you write it down, it becomes real. When you write it down, you think about it. And that's why I like writing down, instead of typing down, I write down people I'm following up with. And then,
Uh,
if I get a sale out of it, I put a yellow marking, right? And so,
uh,
and to create some control. And, because I think we all want to live our best life. And a life well managed is a life well lived.
Mm-hmm.
And we subconsciously just feel better about ourselves. And it is a fight. Like this is something you just never arrive at, you know, you're because life comes at you unexpected things and you've got to deal with it. But here is the good news. If you have a faith in God, then, and you do life with Him, with this daily method of operation, with your priorities, and you ask Him to lead you and guide you, and you keep leaning into this process, you will find yourself getting better. And I would say this, be forgiving to yourself. Learn to really be forgiving. Um, when you find yourself not being as maybe prioritized as you thought. Because ironically, as you learn to forgive yourself quickly in your brain, I heard there's 60,000 thoughts go through our brain in a given day, and it gives you ability to be lighter on your feet, and then it gives you the ability to actually to accomplish more because you're not self-absorbed being negative, when you didn't follow up or what have you. You just keep moving with the Lord with joy. So it's a little food for thought. Righty, who else has something they'd like to share that they got from tonight?
Hey Ken,
Hey,
Henry here.
Henry.
So I think a couple things that I got was one is the distractions. I'm constantly being distracted by stuff throughout the day with our store and with staffing and just so many things. So I will, for an example, I'll plan after a certain time at the store to make phone calls and do some follow-ups and stuff and I'll be bombarded with distractions, and then the time is gone, and I have not gotten to what I wanted to. So I think that's one of the things that I need to look at, and that'll help me with my 20% of priority for this business. And I think the other thing that I got was um, this is a long-term plan for us. This is not a I don't want to get rich quick, although I would like to go fast because I still have Steve Merritt in the back of my head say, do you want to do this slow and painful or fast and fun? And I think right now we're doing it slow and painful. So, but we'll get there. But I realize that it's a long term. So if in 5 years we're making 75 grand a month, you know what? I think that'll be great, you know. But those are, I think, the couple things that I walk away with, and just having a roadmap and for direction. I think that's something. I think again, and I'm always gonna go back to this, Ken. One of the things that you said to me, and it really resonated with me after I got to thinking about it, and I really appreciate that about you. Is you said to me, you know, that you get to own your time. You own your life. You own it. And that to me was very special because, as a business owner, sometimes you think that you own your time, but you really don't. Your business owns your time. And so I just wanted to share that with you, and I really appreciate that about you. So that
Absolutely.
is what's definitely motivated me to. That's why I'm still here. That's why I'm still here, and I'm still learning, and I'm still, talking to people. So I'm still hanging in there, man.
Well, great
Thanks.
job, Henry. Um, and here's the world around us is hoping that we're not going to fail out because we didn't hit a goal and we thought we should. Because then we stop talking much about this patch. We start thinking, and think about the lives that are waiting to be changed with this amazing opportunity. And so consistency is powerful with a long-term view. And I like how Danny talked about it. He talked about time that to me, I'm just different. That's 10 years is too long, right? Let me do it in three. It's got to be done in three. And but you've got to go according to how God designed you to what makes sense for you that you think you can walk this thing out and continue to improve your lie, improve your lie, I mean like your game, improve your uh just improve. And think about this. Um, in this business, you're really faced with you and you being your best for really you. And, you know, if you fail out of this business and do something else, well, you're still you there over there too, And what I love about this business is it challenges us, it challenges you to get better priorities. I mean, what a simple lesson, but a profound lesson. And as I said before, Stephen Jobs, he had his signal, right? Three big things he needed to accomplish in the next 18 hours, and everything else is noise. And I find myself now when I'm doing little things, I said, am I making noise right now? And so I love that analogy of Stephen Jobs, God rest his soul, and I'm thankful for it. And I like the three big rocks, and even Donald Trump. I'm going to share one thing about Trump, like him or not, whatever. But mentions that he looks to accomplish the three big things in his day, and this is before he was elected president. All that baloney. Um, and but also, I remember Trump was interviewed. He said, "What's the number one to be successful, to kind of get to where you've gotten? What's the number one thing you would tell somebody?" And I leaned in when he said, "Don't quit." 2 words, don't quit. And Sam Walton, I just made me think about this. They asked him, what do you think has been the most important thing for you to be successful? He goes, when it just got so hard, I just kept going. And I've been through in the last 40 months, believe it or not, a lot of mentally hard things. This has not been, yeah, we've made some pretty big bank, but the journey to there, God has we have our own things. And, and I'm so thankful that when I just wanted to tap out at times, I didn't, and just to keep moving forward because all of a sudden a new corner opens up and I learn something new and then gain some traction and then we see a little more prosperity. I mean, it's so I want to encourage you that priority is mission critical, that having a goal is going to set your priorities. So each of you on this call should have a goal of your next level by when. And remember, a goal has to be SMART, SMART. It's got to be specific. It's got to be measurable. It's got to be attainable. I see people come in and set these unrealistic goals. I'm like, don't do that. you know, it's got to be relatable. Is it a relevant goal? And it's got to be time sensitive. So you've got to have a date on when you want to get your goal done by. It's got to be realistically achievable, and attainable. It's got to be something that if you're going to own your time and you're going to live your best life, because that really is what we're talking about here. When you're talking about being able to be a blessing to the world around you, you've got to be able to put the oxygen mask on you first and breathe in to live a life of your best life and having control over your day within reason by prioritizing the three most important things maybe you need to do that day. So then when the things you didn't expect happen, you've kind of gotten those three big rocks moved to where you want them to. Or if it's really bad, you at least got one of them. So, but just know you're not alone and that, He likes you. To me, that's bigger than being loved by God is to be liked. He likes you. And so he's not bent out of shape when you don't get everything checked off in the day. And maybe you didn't follow up when you should have. And maybe you can't believe you talked to this person, you forgot that you even talked to him 2 weeks ago. It's okay. Sometimes we win and then sometimes we learn. So what have you learned? So forgive yourself and go live a better day with yourself. Alrighty, who else has anything else they'd like to contribute here? Feel free to unmute yourself, and we'll wrap it up in about 3 minutes here.
And this is Joan.
Hello,
I
Joan.
am new, obviously, as you know, to all of this. I think this is my fifth week, and I just want to give the feedback that this is also helpful to hear from you, Henry, Annette, just what it looks like for you all day to day, and what I can expect, how I should plan. This was really good teaching. Thank you.
That's awesome, Joan. Well, welcome. So glad to
Thank
have
you.
you. You
I am
know,
so glad to be here.
what a blessing. Yeah, great. That's awesome. Well, I think one thing that will help also create a balance for us all and put things in perspective is that we're really living and getting up in the morning, not only just to love ourselves, hit our goals, and own our day, but it's the people that God has designed for us to connect with that day that really makes it all worthwhile. And so when you wake up in the morning and you pray, Lord, give me the divine appointments. Lord, I'm going to talk to everybody because I'm looking for all the somebodies that you have designed for me. And because God has divine appointments for you to connect with so that you can be the next miracle in somebody's life. You know, I still go down. I'm still looking for leaders, right? And so I drive an hour and a half down from where I live over Skyway Bridge down through crazy traffic. It takes a lot of time, 3, 4 hours of my day just on the road. So I have to be very intentional about being planned out. So I'm on the road, I'm productive driving down there. I'm just not driving. I'm on the phone, I'm building or I'm listening. And so I go to networking events, and um, and this is in the context of impacting other people's lives. And here I'm at a networking event today, and I patched somebody 4 weeks ago. One patch, they that day felt good. 2 days later, I meet with them on a Zoom, sign them up. They get a 6 pack. They don't want to do anything. They just want to try it. That's all they want to do. So that was it. They nothing else. So I said, fine. No matter what I said, 6 pack. That's what they got. Well, the gentleman today, he's actually at the networking event, and I almost forgot what he looked like. And so when he said whatever, and because I said, I was like, oh yeah, I'll go sit next to him. He goes, oh man, I can't believe how my arm is. And we're all had to be quiet because now we're all going to see our 1 minute, presentations, at the luncheon. And so I said, hey, can you just stand up and tell everybody? I don't know what he's going to say, what this patch has done for you, And so it's so awesome to hear him stand up and say, Ken patched me. And then we did a presentation with him and his wife is really beautiful. She really, thanks to this patch. And he said, my arm, I tore my bicep. It ripped it off years ago and I had surgery. It's never been right. I've not been able to lift my arm up over my shoulder. He's doing this. I'm going to lift my arm over my shoulder and do this. And I'm just 3 weeks in the patch and my energy is good. And we're playing, pickleball now. I can move my arm. My wife feels this, that, and the other, and I think, wow, sometimes I don't feel it. I don't feel like going down and driving. I'm telling my wife sometimes, honey, I'm getting, there's a lot, going down, but we're looking and I'm sure glad I bet you anything that that gentleman and his wife are so grateful that, I got uncomfortable and I got outside myself and I asked the Lord to give me divine appointments and he did. And then after that, someone else after who's heard me before said, okay, Ken, I need to get these patches, but I gotta go. Here's my card. Can you get with me so I can get some patches? And so God will honor your efforts when you don't feel it. And I'll share one more. So the other week, I had to get down to an 8 a.m. meeting. Now that's the worst time of day. That means I'm going to travel for maybe 2 hours, to get to to over the Skyway Bridge, down, boom, from where we're at. Well, it ended up where it ended up being almost 2.5 hours because the road got shut down basically from a bad accident for a while. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get there right at the very end. This thing was an 8 to 9 meeting. I'm actually going to be there coming in right at 9 o'clock when everybody's leaving. And I said, Lord, bless me, to honor my efforts. I get there, end up talking to like patching 4 people in about 10 minutes. And one guy ends up doing so well that he calls that day and says, Ken, I can't believe how good I feel. 3 days later at 6:30 in the morning, it's Saturday morning, I think it was, or 2 days later, he buys a 20 pack. God honored, the whole me thinking I already was late leaving my house, but then I was even super late and I was feeling like, man, I got to get better at getting out the door earlier, and but God honors momentum. He honors effort. And if you just ask him to bless the work of your hands, he'll bless your mess. you know, and so be encouraged that taking steps forward in this business and just putting the next one in front of the next and the next in front of the next is going to change lives. And you're going to be blessed in return as well. So, and in that consistency with your goal setting and trusting the Lord, He'll help you get better at managing your day, setting your priorities, and writing it down. It's got to be written down. Every morning I take a blank sheet of paper, believe it or not, because I like to work, and I write down my day. I need what are my big rocks today, and try to map out my day and timeline and time block. So, but now I'm looking to create actually specific parts of my week when I'm forecasting a week. When are there some time blocks I can just focus on follow up alone? And I try to do it every day. So I'm working on improving my game too. Well, hey guys, appreciate you. And it's been a blessing to be with you. And tomorrow is Friday. No, what's today? Tomorrow's Thursday.
No Wednesday next I need Thursday.
Yeah. There's no Wednesday next week. Guess why? Because
Christmas Eve.
it's Christmas
No.
Eve. So, and we'll keep you abreast of that. But listen, make sure you get with support team. If you got Zooms, you got to be able that you want to do with your support team, 2-way calls, get with them. Friday, there will be a noon Zoom as always. And then tonight there's an amazing, but it's a training going on at 8:30. That's not open to everybody. It's in Dane McDaniel's team with Andy Hoser. And I'm gonna get that thing and I'm gonna push that back out in school. It's gonna be awesome.
Thank
But
you.
absolutely. But right now, and Joyce, it was great talking with you today. Can't wait to meet your guy at noon on my time, noon, I think, right? Yeah, 11
That's
o'clock
right.
here, 11 o'clock, on Saturday. And that was a powerful
Yes.
three-way. That gentleman support.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. So,
Mm-hmm.
guys, leverage your support team. I'm part of that support team. And yeah, so we've got a great Zoom. That's going to be awesome. I think he's going to crush it with this business.
I think so.
So, yeah.
I
Well, hey,
think
guys,
so.
I'm going to close out in prayer. If you got to go, we get it. But if you want to remain on for 30 seconds with me and join me, that's great too. Love you either way. So glad you're part of the team. Lord, thank you for this opportunity to be brought into this opportunity. We are so thankful that we get to face these challenges. We get to get better. And most of all, we get to live a life that changes other lives. And we get to see miracles. And we thank you for David Schmidt. Continue to bless him and this whole company and everything we do. And bless the whole team, Lord. And continue to bless everybody in this call as we live and move to be better, Lord, with you. And we thank you. May we take the next, Lord, 14 days and the rest of this year, just 2 weeks. May we just live it big, Lord, with excitement. In Jesus' name, Lord, to be a light and help people get turned on to this patch. And ultimately, we turn them on to you if they don't know you.
Thank you.
So we thank you for that. And we look forward to you blessing the rest of the next 14 days, Lord, with us being available and active, our antennas up, our expectancy up to be able to let people know when they say, hey, Ken, what's new with you? Oh, let me ask you a question. What do you know about stem cells? And so, Lord, may we just use that move throughout the next 14 days to change lives by your design, by your spirit. And thank you for blessing us that we finish strong and get ready to ramp up into 2026 Lord, in Jesus' name, thank you. Amen.
Amen.
Man,
Alrighty,
thank
guys.
you.
It's been a blessing and an honor, and look forward to seeing you on the next Zoom.
Amen. Thanks,
And
Ken.
Thanks,
all right,
Ken.
Thank you, Ken.
blessings, everybody. See ya.